absolutely entitled to have their opinion about the things that are happening in their community.
She's the CEO of one of the most controversial organizations in the area, Lutheran Social Services. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight. Earlier this week, we told you about a survey that Valley News Live commissioned to gauge your opinions related to refugee resettlement.
Then we began breaking down the opinions, exploring how resettlement here impacts our schools, our wallets, our crime, and what refugees themselves think about this.
Valley News Team's immigration and relocation reporter Bradford Eric sits down with LSS's CEO Jessica Thomason, laying out our survey findings and asking her your questions.
Using the survey Valley News Live commissioned as the starting point, remember 57% of you surveyed said you do not support the continued resettlement of refugees.
You know, we recognize that not everything that we do is easy to understand or is popular work, but we make sure that everything we do is focused on helping us deliver on our mission.
I then asked what about those people who say we should help our own here before helping those overseas. She said LSS agrees there are needs here at home too.
Refugee resettlement is a part of what we do, but it is certainly not all of what we do. And we do work with veterans. We do work with people who are precariously housed and at risk of homelessness. We work with low-income families and families under stress. We work with teenagers.
You know how to be successful.
Thomason presented a lengthy outline at Tuesday's Eggs and Issues event, detailing the resettlement process. Part of that outline was the security vetting process for refugees. Even though the FBI says there's issues, Thomason doesn't see it that way.
What would you say to the FBI director who just last week said in front of a congressional hearing, we don't have a lot of processes to screen Syrian refugees who are moving through Europe? You know, what would you say to that?
Well, I think the screening process that the United States has in place is probably the most thorough of any country in the world. I think if there is anyone that knows how to do that work in very difficult circumstances, it is the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI and all the related agencies.
A portion of Tuesday's program included this slide showing 50% of federal tax money received by LSS goes toward the organization's overhead for broad, unspecified categories, such as case management and program oversight. The list also includes more specific overhead items like personnel salaries for interpreters, as well as immigration and employment specialists. I asked Thomason about how many tax dollars go directly to refugees versus how much is spent by LSS on operating their nonprofit.
Case management, which basically means that's a person who gets to know that family, helps to connect them and introduce them to the different organizations and activities that they do here in the community. We have interpreter services that are provided. We have basic immigration services that are provided to those families. We have employment specialists who work not only to help the families increase their own employability and become employed as quickly as they can, but we work with the employers as well.
She didn't directly answer the question. Remember, the refugee resettlement program affects schools in the Fargo-Moorhead community as well. Also, you said on our survey that you feel Lutheran Social Services needs to be doing more to help refugees once they bring them in. In 2013, LSS gave just over $48,000 to Fargo Public Schools, who have an ELL budget of nearly $2 million.
When you talk about money going to the Fargo School District, those are dollars that come from the federal government through our organization, and we pass them on to community organizations doing the work. You know, when you ask the question of, you know, is it enough? I think all of us would make the argument that you know, it would be beneficial to have additional resources so we could do even more.
Bradford Eric, Valley News Live.
To view our other reports from this week regarding Lutheran Social Services and their refugee resettlement program, just visit our website, valleynewslive.com, and click on the News tab. There is a section labeled Refugee Resettlement in the Valley, and it's there you can find more information.